Hello there, Scorpio. Welcome to a random tarot card reading where we are going to be looking at your life through the lens of a Greek mythology tarot deck. Now, the reason that I'm doing a random reading is because I have already done your full April month on my TikTok. But I did recently do a reading for you guys, two of them in fact on tarot, that turned out to be your love life. So I would not be surprised if the cards that we pull out have to do with a love life situation. Now, I'm saying that because as I pull these cards out immediately, we have cards like the Minotaur. And if you know about the story of the Minotaur, it was often labeled with confusion and mazes and difficulties and challenges. But we also have the cards of Baucis and Philemon in the reversal position, which is a concept of a story that was about love in all of the best ways. So seeing this in the reversal talks about love that cannot be fulfilled, that does not have the foundational strength to last. I can't believe we're starting off this reading like that. Okay. Scorpios, for those of you, the story of Baucis and Philemon essentially starts off as the concept of gods who were knocking on the doors of the neighborhood in this old Greek tradition. And we look at these stories from the macrocosm of their existence and pull them into the microcosm of your life to see how they might relate. So I want you to imagine these gods knocking on these doors looking for a place to find shelter. Out of all of the people who denied these gods, Baucis and Philemon were the two people who decided to let in these strangers at their door. Once it was revealed, of course, that these were not just mere strangers knocking, and that these gods essentially had thanked Baucis and Philemon for all that they had done in their hospitality, Baucis and Philemon had a wish essentially granted to them, where they would live their days on together, and ultimately became a linden tree, two trees of sorts, intertwined together. At the moment that they passed on, they lived their lives so foundationally well that even in death, they were permitted to wrap around each other as two trees joining into one. A wonderful story, one that I heard when I was probably 14 years old, and it genuinely created a version of love that I clung to. And it's understandable. It's such a beautiful concept of growing old together. That is why the two of these people are elderly and show such wisdom and caring and compassion just by looking at the cards and how they are lovingly looking into each other's eyes. But in the reversal, we have difficulties. And the rest of the reading is showing what the difficulty is. First and foremost, the Minotaur is here. A well-known Greek mythological character dealing with stubbornness, confusion, trials, and difficulties. It is in the upright position, which almost gives this energy of like the challenge winning. Imagine in this reading, the Minotaur is your challenge. What a difficulty indeed it would be to face a Minotaur for most of us. You'd have to be a demigod to take that on, which most of us are not. So there is a challenge present in the relationship, in this loving situation, in this love-seeking situation. Because in the reversal, there is difficulty where love is not necessarily present, but instead with Achilles, and if you know the story of Achilles, he dealt with an utter flaw or a weakness. He was a very great man. He dealt with a lot of excellence, but ultimately the weakness that he had was what did him in the end, right? So the challenge in the relationship is an inherent flaw, some kind of a weakness present. And I think what's happening here with Kirke, or Circe, some people call her Circe, but C's in Greek language systems are actually like a K. Kirke. She is the one who deals with desires. In the upright position, she manifests. She's a sorceress or an enchantress, whichever way you want to put that. She manifests, right? Think of her as the magician card in standard tarot. Well, if your ability to understand desires are in the reversal position, then you're having difficulty manifesting things because you don't really know what your desires are. So I'm sure sometimes this might not be just you, but your partner, somebody in the mix, or your ex, whoever this is for, somebody in the mix does not know how to label and understand the desires that they want, nor do they understand how to appropriately get their desires. Probably because the foundation card is in the reversal. Probably because the foundational way that they behave does not match up to the very desires that they want. In the reversal position, Kirke is connected to indulgence. And so somebody in the relationship, hopefully not both of you, indulges too much in the fantasy aspect of what they want instead of understanding the truth of the foundation that they need. I also think indulgence is a good way to describe the card of Kirke in the reversal, because she turns men into pigs. So it is a really big, there's a really good connective symbolism existing in the story of Kirke when she deals with Odysseus and his men in connection to the concept of indulgence. When you think of those piggish men, you can certainly understand why indulgence is connected to this card. So somebody has a problem with not dealing with things foundationally, and they indulge too much, perhaps in their stubbornness. I find it interesting that the word indulgence and the word stubborn were sitting directly on top of each other. How interesting. Just from an intuitive standpoint. And remembering that over 100 years ago, the most famous deck ever created in the tarot, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, was published alongside a book called The Pictorial Key to the Tarot, published by Arthur Edward Waite, the creator of that most famous deck. And it will always stand out to me that in the introduction of his book, in the preface, he says something unique. He says, intuition stands at the gates. At the gates of what? The gates of heaven, the gates of connection with the source, connection to God from a Christian mysticism perspective, connection to your wisdom, your access to the kingdom of heaven. Intuition stands at the gates. Ultimately, that means that when we read tarot, there are two ways to do it. I'm actually going to be discussing this a little bit in detail at a workshop that I'm doing at our public library, where at one hand, a certain deck will have a certain instruction to it, and the Rider-Waite-Smith deck has many instructions to it. But one of the fantastic instructions to reading the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and most decks, is to use your intuition. And if your intuition draws you towards a different meaning, then you should listen to that intuition. It begs the question, why have you been drawn to this thing? Which is why I say, why have I been drawn to the words indulgence and stubborn so much? I think this person is very stubborn. They want what they want, but they have a bit of a fantasy. Not a goofy fantasy, but I mean like in their mind, they don't realize what is foundationally suitable. And they may, again, I say this, they may be existing from a position where their inherent values don't actually match up to what they want long term, to what they're asking for. As an example, there can be many men and women in the world who want to be a successful businessman. I'm not saying for this reading, I'm just giving you an example of how value systems don't match up for people and they tend to not realize it. Well, if you want to be a successful businessman, what do you have to do? You darn well need to garner the skills of discipline, now don't you? If you want to be a healthy individual, you have to garner the skills of discipline within your eating or your working out. And you can imagine and have a fantasy all you want that you're that person that will one day be in great health, or like exercise a lot. Some people have health as a difficulty, so let's just be clear about that. I mean, like, exercise a lot, that kind of thing. And sometimes people want to be like a businessman. And you can say all you want that you're going to be those things, but you will not be those things until you garner certain skills at the foundational level that match that identity. This is the problem here. It looks to me like somebody wants something, but they're not willing to put the effort and garner the skills to foundationally get that thing. They just indulge. They just want what they want. And it almost feels like short-term thinking. Interestingly enough, remember the story of Baucis and Philemon is very much a long-term game. These people wanted to live together forever and die together and still be together after the long-term game. That's how long people should be thinking. But in the reversal position, somebody in this dynamic is not thinking long-term. They're thinking in the present moment. What to do in the now, perhaps what to do in the next 2 months, and that might be as far as this person thinks. That might be their challenge. Interestingly enough, also, Aletheia has trial on her name. She also has the concept of enterprise. I just want to make mention of the fact that this person may be focused also on something foundationally which doesn't connect to you, like enterprise and business. See, it's interesting that I was accidentally, through my intuition, talking about a sentiment of business. And then I realized, oh, right, the card right there that we have discusses that concept of enterprise. And so if it's not that they want their cake and eat it too, if it's not like somebody who wants like another person or wants wants you to behave in a certain way that can't get what they want from you, then instead what it is this person is trying to create a lifestyle, but they don't look at the long-term game. They're looking in the present moment. I also think it's interesting that Cleo is about documentation and effort to have a celebrated greatness. Reminds me of the great businessman that I just talked about, somebody who wants to gain enterprise. I think somebody here is focused on a lifestyle aspect. Their lifestyle desires pose a weakness. The thing they want to manifest poses a weakness. How they want to live poses a weakness when it comes to if they can accurately join up with you. Now, I am going to read one more deck, a different deck, because this talks a lot about the situation in the now. But that celebration card is here. So I'm wondering if they're going to fix this at some point. If they're going, maybe after they deal with their business or enterprise, depending on if you want to wait for that long, or if it's their housing, because business and enterprise can encompass a lot of different things. It just doesn't just have to be, oh, someone's in school or someone has a job. This could be like somebody where they live, right? The lifestyle they want with the location that they live, how they view their life, like turning out. They might have a quick idea of what they want their life to be in 30 years, but they don't actually think past 2 months. It's a unique aspect when people do that. So personally, off of face value, I don't think they're going to have what it takes to change it, but I am still intuitively being led to consider what that card could additionally mean. So far, what I take this card to mean about greatness and celebration is that this person wants that celebration. They want to feel like they have an identity that can gain recognition. Feels like somebody wants to be recognized for something. Kind of like, hey, I got to get this job, or hey, let me complete my schooling, or, things like that. Or I just need to deal with my house first. Something's connected to their identity, but maybe that celebration card could have an alternative meaning. What did we just get? We have 2 cards. All right, this is the Beast Soul Tarot deck. It usually goes, interesting. It usually goes into the note of advice pieces, but I am kind of looking at whoever this person is. You need to unlock... Interesting. You need to unlock your hidden potential. Say no to violence and show your strength in a gentle way. Wow. There's 2 immediate things that just came up into my mind. One is that this person is keeping something on the down low. They might not express to you all the things that they're doing because the card of stealth is here. By the way, neither of these cards talk about this being a celebration between you and this person. I'll just be frank to start off with that. Instead, it talks about something that's hidden. It's almost like this person's trying to unlock their potential, right? Like I said, gain their identity. They want to find their own sense of contentment. But the secondary thing, because there's this aspect of volatility or anger, I feel like this person might, with the Minotaur card, Minotaur that is a hugely challenging individual, and just looking at him, he's about brute strength, and so is Achilles. There's almost a doubling or tripling down of the energy, talking about how this person might have, on a light note, an attitude problem, on a heavier note, an anger problem. There might be volatility in this person. That could be a part of them that they're hiding. Or that you might know about that. My eyes just peered at the word difficulty again. Like, this person has difficulty with frustrations within them. And I think they want to build their identity past that. They don't want to be known as a person who's acting with frustration and anger and not getting shit done. I think they're trying to be smart about this. So again, this is a lot of them. This is a lot of they have baggage. This is not showing up the dynamic about you two together. In fact, Stoicism, the energies of what the Stoics were all about oftentimes incorporated the ability to be okay in the face of isolation, in the face of human loneliness, and the journey that most of us go through where we do inevitably have to deal with that. Dealing with people together when we can, but also being wise enough to deal with independence. Okay, so ultimately, when we get this reading done here, I know a lot of you want to hear things like, oh my gosh, yay, you guys are going to be together. But this person is not at that phase. This person is not, like, they may at some point, maybe with the celebration card, they may at some point flippantly talk about it, or be jovial, or perhaps want to have a day of celebration with you, like call you up and celebrate. But their actual ability to commit to something foundationally with you doesn't look effective here. It doesn't look like this person could do the long-term game in terms of relationships for quite some time, because they are dealing with some kind of an identity, not, I don't want to say crisis, but it's like an overwhelm. It's like they're so concerned with that. They have so much that they're trying to do in that level. That identity insinuates individual problems and situations that need to be dealt with inside of their own being. That's not something that you two forge. A person forges their own identity. It puts a singular. It's like if we were talking about singular and plural pronouns and all that jazz, this would be a singular. This is not the energy. And I mean, the only card that has two people on it are in the reversal position. So I don't think that you should necessarily put your effort into this particular person. If this person is forging their identity, then you do what you need to with your own identity. Go forward on into the world, my dears. If the universe was to bring you back, it would be at, I think, a much farther level once this person has handled some of the stubborn or frustrating aspects to themselves and the identity situation that they have. I will leave you off with that, my dears. If you'd like any further information, this aspect of love was discussed in my 2 TikTok videos for Scorpio. I wish you all the best. Happy Good Friday, by the way, and happy Easter holidays. I'm off now to do the sign of Capricorn. All right, talk to you later. Many blessings, and ciao for now.